No problem.
And I said to her, "You better have somebody who knows what they're doing."
Yeah, hold on. You got to put it up again because I just hit record. You got to show
Oh,
the audience what.
so Snub Nose 38.
There we go.
This is my favorite here. It's my 44. My Dirty Harry, make my
Yeah.
name.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. All right. Are we're good to go?
Very good.
Aw- Awesome. All right, Robert, thank you for joining me, talking to me in the Vetrepreneur Tribe. As you know, we're a community of military veterans on our path to our personal and financial goals. And it's a true honor to speak with you today. A little bit about how I became familiar with you is when I was in the Marine Corps. Actually, I was reading your books, and in 2004 to 2008 timeframe, there was no social media, there was no online coaches. So what I had was bookstores, and I kid you not, I read every single one of your copies, including all of your Rich Dad Advisors series.
Wow.
And to me, that was my real education, because getting out and getting using my GI Bill, I saw real quick what the education system gave you in terms of practicality versus reading the words that you wrote in your books. So
Yeah.
I know you get this a lot, but you definitely changed my life, and I know you've changed the lives of so many. And thank you for speaking with me today.
Oh, it's my honor, and thanks for telling me that. So
Perfect.
especially since when I wrote the book, this is 25 years ago. The editors out of the New York Times, they said, "You don't know what you're talking about." Okay, maybe you don't know what you're talking about. So it's all relative. So it's interesting life.
Yes, absolutely. And I think to lead into like the first question is, what was your experience like leaving the Vietnam War, and that period of time of trying to get used to civilian life again, and also trying to achieve your personal goals and following your rich dad?
Well, as you may know, is that it was a tough time because when my aircraft landed, I think it was a 707 or something, carrying all the troops back. It was January 3rd, 1973. And I spent my January 3rd, 72 to 73 in Vietnam. I flew off carriers and all that, I was a gunship pilot. I loved it. I really did. I was sad. There was tragedy. You have friends who don't come back. And I really thought I was serving my country. And then when the aircraft taxied up, this is Norton Air Force Base, north of San Francisco, uh, the pilot comes on. He says, "If you have civilian clothes, change immediately." So we rush into the terminal. We get out of our uniforms, we change into civilian clothes. And there was about 500 Woodstock generation hippies, love and peace and welcome home, asshole. They hit us with eggs and spit on us. And, all these hippie chicks who you want to bang, but they're just so gorgeous. And they got no bras on. And they're spitting on you. I'm going, man, it's going to be a rough transition. You know? So in those days, like we had haircuts like you had, with a shave. But back then, the real men looked like women. They had hair down to their butts, the hippies.
Hmm.
So that was a transition. And like the pilot said when we taxied in, welcome home. America has changed.
Wow.
And boy, has it changed. Those hippies became leaders in our communities. When I speak to most of the conservative crowds, you don't find me at too many liberal crowds.
Yeah.
And I laughingly say, when I look into the audience of these hippies spitting on me and throwing eggs at me, I said, I swear to God, I saw Nancy Pelosi and Bernie Sanders in there. But they became our leaders. And today our country's fucked up because those hippies became our leaders. Do you know what I mean? It's just tragic what's happened. And they infected our academic system. And just recently, on February 8th of 2023, this year, I did an event at Gamage Theater out on Arizona State University's campus. Arizona State's the largest college or university in America. And the professors, 39 professors, came after us. They wanted to censor us. We couldn't talk. And the subject for our talk was health, wealth, and happiness. And the professors were so upset because who were we? Who were they on their territory? So there's something seriously wrong in education. It's out of touch with reality. And they're teaching, that if you're a boy, you should be a girl, and Black Lives Matter, and all this stuff that didn't matter in the Marine Corps. Do you know what I mean? Like, I didn't care if the guy was black, white, green, or purple. Was he a Marine?
Green.
Yeah, period.
Yeah.
They didn't have that crap, but now they teach it. That's the difference. They're teaching us to hate our fellow human being. They teach us that if you're a girl, you should be a boy, and if you're a boy, you should be a girl.
Mm-hmm.
What are they teaching? That's what happened for me. So I look back at that and I go, my generation have screwed it up. Like this guy Clinton, oh my God, and this guy Biden, I can't believe that guy.
Yeah.
What the hell are they doing? I'm an oil guy. I went to the U.S. Merchant Marine Academy in Kings Point, New York. This is the aircraft I flew in Vietnam, the little gunship. And so I graduated from Kings Point in 1969. And I was draft exempt because oil. I worked for Standard Oil. And my whole family are warriors. My whole family are samurai. This is one of my great, 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 great uncles. I have that sword in my room. It's passed down from generation to generation to generation. So in 1969, when I graduated, I was making about $50,000 a year. My classmates were making $120,000 a year. This is 1969. And so everybody's going, man, I've got these high-paying jobs. But my family says, how do you serve your country? So I quit Standard Oil and I joined the U.S. Marine Corps, which proved not the brightest guy in the world. And they sent me straight to Pensacola Flight School, Camp Pendleton, Vietnam. So it was one of the best decisions I ever made. I'm going to serve my country. So, like I said, some of my classmates are making $120,000 a year selling bomb carriers into Vietnam. But so I got paid $200 a month as the first lieutenant, flying a helicopter in Vietnam. So it was a huge transition, and this is, I think, personally, it's the smartest thing I ever did. Serving my country was the smartest thing I ever did, and I'm still in service. That's why I write. That's why I speak. That's why, this 6 months ago, February 8th, 2023, I go to Gamage Theater, and those same hippie, pinko, commie professors are picketing us, wanting to censor us. Mm. What happened to America? How dare those fricking academics, those woke academics, shut us down?
Yeah.
I can't believe it. I can't believe it. So it's still in the press what Arizona State's, they're censoring people like me from speaking. This is the largest university in America. Mm-hmm. Something's very sick in our academic system.
Yeah, I agree completely. What do you think was the hardest part about transitioning from the military to like your first endeavor? Which was your first and major endeavor?
Business-wise, it was what's that?
So your first major endeavor was the Velcro business, or did you have something before that? The Velcro wallet.
Yeah, no, the Velcro wallet was my first major business.
Okay.
And it was called Ripper Wallets. It was a branded product. And, we borrowed a lot of money. We went to the moon. I had a thing called a shoe pocket. On your runner's shoes, you put your key inside the pocket in the shoe. Mm-hmm. So we had all product lines and all this, and I borrowed a lot of money. And I found out one of the first things, a thing called treason. I had two civilian partners. One was Stanley, another was John. And we were going broke. our sales were so immense, we couldn't keep up with inventory.
Yeah.
So we kept borrowing to finance inventory coming out of Korea and stuff. And I still remember handing $100,000 check, which was a lot of money back in 60, whatever that was, huge amount of money, 73, 74.
Yeah.
And I remember saying to Stanley, I won't mention his last name, but I said, Stanley, will this solve the problem? He says, yes, it will. And he and John ran off with the money and the whole business collapsed.
Oh my, I never knew that. For you, yeah, I've never heard that side of the story from. Wow.
Oh man, I tell you, and that's what I say to military veterans is that, the thing about Semper Fi, it made us stupid because we actually trusted people. When you come into the real war, there's no such thing as Semper Fi.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
you've got to be very, very careful. The values which are priceless that the military teaches. I don't care what branch of the service, Army, Air Force, Coast Guard, Navy. But there is not the same band of brother camaraderie, no Semper Fi outside of that.
Yeah.
So I've got to be very careful. It's one of the hardest lessons I had to learn is, could I find civilians who also live by Semper Fi? They die before killing, death before dishonor. And they're out there, but that became one of the biggest mistakes I made. Was I thought everybody was Semper Fi. Big mistake.
Wow. What are some ways that you learn to identify potential partners or people that you deal with? Like, did you develop any kind of method, or is it more of a gut feeling of how to prevent something like that happening?
It's a gut feeling, and
Yeah.
it never ends.
It never ends. Yeah.
Never ends. And there's always something, but you find them. Do you know what I mean? And when you
Yeah.
find your band of brothers, your band of sisters, it's priceless. I don't care if they served or not served. But when you find them, they're probably your greatest asset you have, are the people you're around.
Oh,
So
100%.
today I've been in business with some guys 30, 40 years. But I just fired one guy he and I were friends for 40 years.
Wow.
I had to fire him. He pussied out. I said, anyway, that's a personal story, but I said, you're out. I don't want to do business with you. He goes, why? I said, I just don't trust you anymore.
Well, after 40 years, wow, I can only imagine that decision that happened, how hard that decision must have been. But it just shows your character and staying true to to your business. Wow.
Well, let me tell you what the project is that he backed out on.
Yeah.
One of my best friends, I got court-martialed twice. I tell everybody that's kind of my badge of honor. I had women problems, and so I used my helicopter to fly women around. And for some reason, the Marine Corps didn't take kindly to that.
Yes.
And there's a great movie, A Few Good Men with Nicholson.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And Nicholson plays Colonel Jessup. It was so similar to that. The way they caught me was on my fuel records. They said, Lieutenant, your aircraft was logged out for 3 hours, but you only burned 20 minutes of fuel. What were you doing? Well, I was sucking down beer and getting laid.
That's incredible.
The trouble is, Marshall, I did it twice. Marines are a little thicker than the rest,
Yeah, we are. Yeah.
So anyway, but when there's a line in that Nicholson says, you can't handle the truth. And there's a lot of truth in that one, And what happened after that is I was being court-martialed. And I did a thing today it's called Landmark Personal Development Course. And I had to in that course was a Saturday, Sunday, Wednesday, Saturday, Sunday. In that course, I had to take a look at myself. And I had violated all the codes, I was a liar. And so I am being court-martialed. I was at Kaneohe Marine Corps Air Station in Hawaii. I called the prosecutor up, this guy, Captain Abrams. I said, Captain Abrams, I'm coming in. And I took that was a deposition. Raise your right hand.
Yeah.
Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth. Yes, sir. I told him everything. Every criminal activity I've ever done as a Marine. I think I lost 30 pounds doing that one. Because you're stuffing it in. You know what I mean? Oh, hope they don't catch me. Hope they don't catch me. And I knew I was guilty. And at the end of the deposition, it's like 3 hours. I just looked up at the Captain Abrams and I said, how many years, sir? You know what he said? You're free. Thank you for your service.
Wow.
Honorable discharge. I tell you what, I became a better Marine at that time than ever before. He says, you're a free man. Honorable discharge. Thank you for your service. And I was discharged like a month later.
Wow.
But anyway, my best friend on the carrier was a 46 driver, and I drove the Huey gun. Other guys drove the 53s. It was a composite squadron. And my best friend on there became a lieutenant general. So I get booted out as a lieutenant, and he comes a lieutenant general 3-star. That's hard to do for a winger. That's really tough for a winger. So he and I would laugh all the time because he was just as guilty as me. And we sit there and laugh, and he said, how come? What's happening? What's happening here? Why am I being court-martialed and you get off scot-free? He just looks at me with a shit-eating grin. He goes, because you get caught, asshole.
That's what they say about the good conduct ribbons, is that it's just they're good at not getting caught.
Yeah. It's a band of brothers. It's Semper Fi. We all rat on each other and all that. So we bought a house in Washington, D.C. He's a congressman now. He's Congressman Jack Bergman from Michigan. And we're putting in a rich dad house where the January 6th riots were. We're putting our rich dad house there. And we're going to affect legislation for financial education. So we're going to have the cash flow board game here, and all our books and the books that you read. Going to be a library there. So we can influence legislation at the highest of levels.
Okay.
So this guy's a congressman and all this. We bought this house. And I asked that friend of mine for 40 years, I said, I need $20K donation to the project. He says, no. I went, why not? He says, I won't. This SOB, reason I fired him, he was willing to ride our coattails for free, but he wasn't willing to pay. Does that make sense to you?
100%. There's always characters like that.
Yeah, I'm going to give you all of this publicity. You'll be in a house in Washington, D.C. Congressmen, senators, aides will be coming through there. Your book will be featured. Nope. 20. Is this 20,000? Nope. So I said, we're through. Because in capitalism, it's money.
Yeah. And
he doesn't want to contribute to the cause. Like I support you, you support me. But when you don't want to contribute that way, I'm out. I don't trust him anymore. So it's 40 years, he's gone. So we're building this house in Washington, D.C. It opened, I think, October of this year. And it's called the Rich Dad House. It's near the Amway House and all of this. And our job is we're going to invite, 4 stars and stuff like this. Our job is maybe we can start teaching Marines about money.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So the mission, that's what I'm saying. It's always Semper Fi. Our job is to get our brothers out of here, bring them home safe. So we got to give them financial education our schools will never teach. And in fact, our schools are Marxist. So we have to compete against Marxism by teaching capitalism.
No, absolutely. That's an incredible thing that you're doing. I know it's something that I always talk about is that, they gave us 3 months to be basically trained Marines in boot camp, and they gave us 2 days at the end to turn learn how to transition in the civilian world, and it's up to the private sector to fix that. I'm sure you could agree with that. And
Well, Marines are tough enough. I'm not worried about them, man.
yeah.
You know what I mean? The thing I always say, I worked construction in high school for Rich Dad.
Mm-hmm.
And you know how when you pour concrete, they have rebar inside the steel bars,
Yeah.
iron bars. And the thing I said to young men and women, I said, the trouble with being a kid, you're just soft concrete.
Mm-hmm.
And what the Marine Corps and the Academy did for me is to put the rebar in.
Yeah.
So no matter what comes at you, you're strong. So that's the best thing about the military service is the rebar it puts inside your body, your mind, and your soul, your spirit. So you can take no matter what these sons of a bitches throw at you.
Oh, amen to that. That's true. I did have a question for you. That's I remember reading one of your books with Donald Trump, and I always thought, like, how in the hell did you two meet, or how did you find a way to get connected with Donald Trump before he started anything political? Yep, that's that one. Yep.
Yeah, Midas touch. Well, first of all, he's a great guy, and before he was President Trump, we used to do these mega seminars like at Javits Center and all over the country, all over the world. We travel all over the world teaching. And when real estate was very hot,
Mm-hmm.
so he and I would sit in the green room in the back. And he didn't know me, I didn't know him, And we just started talking. And we shared the same concern. It's how do we teach kids about money?
Yeah.
And so that's why we were teaching. So at Kings Point, the Merchant Marine Academy, I went to school. It's acta non verba, D's not words.
Mm-hmm.
So he and I were practicing what we teach. We're teaching in public because that's what we so solely need is financial education. But like I'm saying, those hippies I greeted my aircraft back in '73, they're teaching now. Our country's fucked.
Yeah.
We're fucked. Those guys came after me on February 8th of this year, calling me, they called, what did they say about me? I don't know. I didn't know what I was talking about. I'm going, 39 professors at Arizona State, the largest university in America, and they're woke.
Mm.
They're woke. It's just tragic what's happened to education. So we fight back. Trump fights back. His two sons are fantastic young men, Don Jr. and Eric.
Mm-hmm.
We used to fly by helicopter to remote islands in Hawaii legally.
Yeah.
And we'd camp, but we had, there was no running water, no toilets, no showers, no shelter. And we'd sit out there. It was just like being, on duty.
Mm-hmm.
And we'd hunt and fish and all this. Those kids never asked for anything. And they didn't whimper, they didn't complain. We'd go to a restaurant afterwards. They'd always walk in the back and say hello to the staff. They're classic kids. And they got this Hunter Biden who's doing drugs and cocaine and hookers and all this stuff. I don't blame the guy, but anyway, when you compare Hunter Biden to Don Jr. and Eric Trump, there's a complete big difference in the kids. So that speaks to the parents, if you know what I mean, on that one.
100%.
Oh, let's say one more thing about Donald Trump is one day that's before he was president. I think it was the one Moscone in San Francisco, and I used the term little people. Trump came up on stage and in front of like 65,000 people reprimanded me. I can almost hear my DI screaming at me, Marine, he didn't say that. He says, comes up to me in front of 65,000 people. He says, never use the term little people. Treat everybody with respect. That's the kind of man he is. But he will rip you to shreds if he doesn't like you, as you know.
Yeah.
But he doesn't belittle people. And there's a big difference. So I have tremendous respect for the guy. I think he was doing a great job when he was president. And this guy, I'm an oil guy, so I understand that my background is ocean transportation, oil. I worked for Standard Oil. Biden's first act was to take off the Keystone XL pipeline that ran from Canada to the Gulf of Mexico. When he did that, I'm selling oil. I have no stocks. I have no stocks, bonds, mutual funds, ETFs. I'm a pure entrepreneur. I own the companies.
Yeah.
So I own the oil. And I was selling oil when Trump was president for $30 a barrel. And that was Biden's first act, was to cut off the Keystone pipeline. Oil went from $30 a barrel to $130 a barrel. As an oil guy, I knew he was crushing the poor middle class. So today you have the middle class and poor, it doesn't, prices don't affect me.
Yeah.
But for the average poor middle class person, where they're putting gas in the car and they got kids to feed and all this, Biden is intentionally crushing people. And the second act was to hire 87,000 IRS agents. And if Biden had read the Communist Manifesto, what Marx says is that a graduated income tax is essential for the spread of communism. So this guy Biden, his actions tell me he's a communist. Not his words, his actions.
Yeah.
Crushing people. The abolition of private property is Marx. The get rid of God is Marx. And that's what's happening right now. This guy Biden is horrible, absolutely horrible. So that's why I'll speak up and I'll say things. I got my butt handed me for that. But a lot of liberals love him. They love Biden. I don't know how they can, but they do. It's a free country.
Well, no, you're absolutely correct. That's one of the things that I really admire about you. When I saw you at Rebel Capitalist, you seem to be a lot more outspoken and unfiltered as you in some of your public things in the past, and I really like that a lot. I think it's much needed. So even though you might get hate and flack for it, I fully support you and keep being the way that you are right now, because we need it.
Yeah. Remember, it's acta non verba, deeds not words. Your actions speak louder than your words.
Yeah.
And that when we were together in Orlando, do you remember those nuns that were in there?
Yeah, I remember those. Yeah.
I'm going, holy fuck, nuns come to my seminar? I'm either in big trouble or, you know what I mean? I'm going, has God come down to punish me? So I said, I got to check this out because I've never had nuns come to my seminar. My sister's a nun, but she never comes to my seminars.
Yeah.
So I go out and meet these two sisters, and they really are sisters. They're sisters and they're sisters.
Okay.
And not only that, they're foxes, man. They're gorgeous, they're gorgeous eyes. Oh.
Robert, they're in their whole nun outfit.
I know. I'm going, thank you, God. So I found out who they are. Why they came is because, I think they're rebel with the Rebel Capitalist show we went to, but these are rebel nuns and rebel Catholics. They broke away from the church, not broke away, but they don't have the funding from the Pope. So these two nuns came with their the head guy to learn about money. Wow. And so we're setting up a program where we actually teach the nuns, because they have a school and all that, about money. So it was that Orlando show where I met you was one of the best shows I've ever been to, because there was guys like you on the military side, and then there are nuns. Wow. And both spiritual. Marine Corps spiritual, nuns are spiritual. And it was really, really, really great program.
Yes. Well, it feels like it was meant to be then.
Yes, thank you.
Awesome. I did want to ask you a few questions from some of the group members, if you don't mind.
Sure.
One of them is from Carrie Roger, who's in the Marine Corps. In the business to consumer space, what is the best way to combat any kind of a recessionary environment that we're in? So how can we fight back against or navigate through a recession in business?
Right. I mean, it's a very August 22nd this year in South Johannesburg, South Africa, is the meeting of the BRICS nations.
Mm-hmm.
The BRICS are Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, Saudi Arabia, and then possibly Japan and Mexico. And they're going to vote for a gold-backed currency, maybe a gold-backed yuan or something.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to crush the dollar. So the question is asked is very important because it's going beyond recession. It might be depression. Because
Wow.
what's going to happen is a pile of shit called debt is going to haunt us. I think the interest on debt alone is in the trillions right now, something like that.
Wow.
So the rule of thumb I have is when times get really bad, you got to promote more. So what I'm doing right now with you is promoting, this is my business here and all this stuff. So what happens for a lot of people when business gets tight, they pull back.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to do exactly the opposite. So the rule of thumb I have is promotion is a 6-week cycle. So what I'm doing today, 6 weeks from now, it shows up at sales. But what happens for a lot of people, because when times are bad, they cut back on advertising, they cut back on promotion, they just cut back. And things 6 weeks from now, it gets worse. So never stop promoting is the number one thing. Like right now, I'm talking to my company. The reason we have this board game here is because what we need are new ideas, new stimulation. So by playing this board game over and over again, is fertilizing your brain to new ideas. So this game is perfect for entrepreneurs. It's not good for employees. So for entrepreneurs, this is like fertilizer for your brain.
Yeah.
Maria Montessori said, what the hand does, the mind remembers. You're playing this game, you're filling out the financial statements and all this, your brain's going, God, I should do this. So you need stimulus for your brain. It's like PT for your brains. The math is when you start to work your hand and the eye-hand coordination with the numbers,
Mm-hmm.
and your brain is coming to life. So the first 10 times you play it, it's tough. But by the 10 or 11 time you start teaching other people, be of service. I really believe there's some kind of there's a God or something. When you are there to serve, God will send ideas to you. You'll see things you've never seen before. So the most powerful asset you have lies between this here and this here. It's called your brain. But what happens is when, let's say, depression comes, people will seize up and then the brain shuts down.
Mm-hmm.
So this game is there for you to practice, teach, give, and you shall receive. Teach others, comes back. I believe it comes back to you. I can't guarantee it, but I sincerely believe that. So give first, and then it comes back in. Teach, and you shall receive.
Amazing. Thank you. Um, Brian Kennedy from the Air Force. We often talk about vets' advantages in business, but what are some things that you see holding vets back, and how should we overcome them?
The biggest thing for most vets is who you hang out with. I mean, it is a band of brothers or sisters. And I'm very careful who I spend my time with because they pollute your brain also.
Yeah.
So, you can have somebody with a negative attitude around you. It infects you. Thoughts have mass to them.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm very careful who I spend time with. That's why, going to conferences like Rebel Capital's George Gammon's event and all that. There's a lot of big events now. I go to them to meet people, meet friends, meet people of like-minded people, should I say.
Mm-hmm.
So going into the future, my rich that always says the 5 people you surround yourself with. And who are they? I don't hang out with my family.
Yeah.
They're academics. They think capitalists are pigs and all that stuff. So I let them be who they are. I just don't want to hang out with them. So
Essentially, veteran or not, basically keeping positive people around you and avoiding negativity.
It's more than positive, it's got to be proactive people, is what I say.
Okay.
There's a lot of people who are positive, but they don't do crap. Does it make
That's
sense to
true.
you? So that's why when I met you at Rebel Capitalist in Orlando, those people are our brothers and sisters.
Mhm.
I mean, those nuns, they're burned in my soul right now. You know, they showed up,
Yeah.
you know, so that's what I'm looking for. So I still have I have my friend Kenny McElroy who teaches real estate. My tax guy teaches taxes.
Mhm.
Those are my closest friends, my accountants, my attorneys. You know, we're a team. It's like a fire team, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
So the tax guy is probably my lead guy, and Kenny McElroy is my debt guy. So because I use debt, I don't use money.
of course.
So I'm always using debt. And guys like what's his name? Ooh, he says live debt free. Smart
Oh,
guy.
I know you're
Yeah.
talking about. Yeah.
But his formula is live debt free.
Yeah.
I'm $1.2 billion in debt. But I use debt to make money. And most people use debt to get poor. So my
Yeah.
rich dad often said to me is that poor people spend money and get poorer. Rich people spend money and get richer. And that's the person you're looking for.
Yes, absolutely. Wow. Um, let's see. Mike Demo from the Marine Corps, who served in Iraq, with social pressures leading kids to mediocrity. How do you suggest teaching the value of being a business owner or an investor at an early age or young age?
Well, again, you know, I shamelessly plugged my game here, cash flow board game.
Hmm.
It's the only game with a financial statement and all that. It teaches you how to move numbers around, teaches you cash flow. Two most important words in business and in life, cash flow. And the average person, cash flows in and it flows out. An entrepreneur can create their own cash and keep it flowing in a circle.
Hmm.
So I like that yellow Ferrari over there. Most people, if they bought that Ferrari, I still have that Ferrari, but it made me richer. The reason it made me richer was because I think I bought an apartment house first with debt, and the cash flow from the apartment house bought the Ferrari. So that's what I mean to say is rich spend money and get richer. Poor spend money and get poorer. So some idiot would buy that Ferrari and wonder why they're going broke.
Yeah,
Nothing to do with the Ferrari, sweetheart.
it's true.
So it's all between this year and this year, and then who your friends are. And for me, it's really hard to hang out with people who are, I mean, I don't mind saying the economy is bad, but the question is, what are you going to do about it?
About it. Yeah.
And there's more opportunity coming up because I think we're going to a possible depression. That's really good because one of my teachers, I've had several like rich dads, I always seek good teachers. And he made his fortune. He was in 1929, he was on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. And these guys were throwing stocks. They said, oh, we don't want it anymore. And he ran around the floor picking up stocks and
Mhm.
paying almost nothing for them,
Yeah.
became a multi-millionaire. So, you know, it's just between your left ear and your right ear. He thought it was the best thing. He taught me that guy who is picking up the stocks.
Mhm.
There's a rat race, and that's what you go to school for. You go to school, get a job, you get stuck in that rat race there. Outside is the fast track. The fast track is an accredited investor. You see, most people cannot invest on the fast track because they're not rich. You have to be rich on the accredited.
Yep.
So the game teaches you how to get out of the rat race onto the accred. And on the accredited fast track is where my teacher, the guy who was on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange, a lot of those deals are deals we did together. Russian oil deals, we did this. They don't all work, but we're always doing big deals.
Yep.
So I took my first gold mine public out of Toronto Stock Exchange. And so we struck gold. I was a billionaire for about 2 months. And then the Chinese confiscated it. So I don't like the Chinese that much anymore. But then I took another gold mine public this summer. This one's in Provo, Utah.
Oh, nice.
That put me in the billion-dollar category again. I've done it several times.
Wow.
It's all on this game board.
Yep.
So you play it 10 times and then you teach other people, you'll find your brain opens up. Why don't I do this? That's what it's for.
Perfect. Um, I did have my last question for you is going to come from me is If you can go back in time 30 or 40 years from now, what would you tell yourself?
I would do it again. No, it was I'm sincerely saying, just because of this is my family heritage, right?
Uh-huh.
Samurai.
Yeah.
That sword is in my house. It's cherished. But it's the same as my Marine officer's sword. And I had a choice. I mean, I hate to say this, but when I ask guys my age, I'm a boomer, what did you do during the Vietnam War? And if that little livered pinkle pussy says I was hiding in Canada
Yeah.
or I had a student deferment because it was the best decision I ever made because I didn't have to go. I did it because of my family heritage. My family was locked up during World War II because after the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor, the Japanese in California were all locked up in concentration camps, their land taken away, everything taken away. And what my relatives did, I had 7 uncles, 5 fought in Europe, and 2 fought against the Japanese. We went to fight, went to serve our country.
Yeah.
So I had that going for me. And that one uncle who fought against the Japanese, he was captured also by the Japanese. And the son of a bitch castrated him because he was Japanese. So he had a hard on for that guy who castrated him.
I would too.
But that's in the heritage, it's in the blood, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So I didn't have to go. And I said, Jesus, if I don't go, who am I? So with that, I volunteered. I said, if I'm going to fight, I'm going to fight with the best. I want to fight with those who want to fight. So I went down. I was in New York City at I was still at school in New York, big room full of about maybe 800 to 1,000 kids, men, all of them.
Mm-hmm.
And the Army, Air Force, Navy, Marine Corps up there recruiting. So the Air Force guy gets up there that they're looking for pilots because we were short of pilots. And he says, yeah, we had the best golf courses. Fucking Air Force, bunch of pussies. They build golf courses first, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The Navy talks about hitting the ship. Well, that's good,
Yeah.
Coast Guard talks about saving lives. And the Army talks about they have more helicopters than anybody. And the Marine stands up there and he goes here in front of all these guys. He goes, look, you fucking pussies. You want to save lives? Join the fucking Coast Guard. You want to play golf? Join the Air Force. You want to kill people? Join the Marine Corps. And so there was only about 20 of us who stood in front of him. The rest all went to other services.
Well,
But I still remember that guy. I'm going, who do I talk to? But because there was never an I'm the first and only Marine in my family. The rest are Army and Air Force. So I went, okay, if I'm going to fight, I want to go with people who want to fight. If you want to save lives, join the Coast Guard. I'd rather fight. And it was the best decision I ever made. It was a band of brothers. It is Semper Fi, and it put the rebar in my system. That's priceless. And that's what makes me the strongest entrepreneur. I'd be a much stronger entrepreneur because I joined the Marine Corps, the discipline.
that's a great point. I love you saying that it's the putting the rebar in your system, because anytime I have a bad month or a bad week or something happens here, I always remember that even the worst parts of America is luxurious compared to the other parts of the world, and nothing is going to be as bad as it was, being in Ramadi, Iraq in 2007. No matter
Right.
how bad things are here, it was still much better than some of the times over there. So.
Right. And what they're doing in San Francisco right now, they're proposing to give blacks $5 million each, plus an annual income of 96,000 a year because they're black.
Mhm.
What the hell are they teaching those guys? What about my relatives who are locked up? What about my uncle got his nuts cut off? I'd be pissed.
It's an understatement. Yeah.
So I love the Marine Corps. It was the best place. Like I said, I'm honored that I was court-martialed twice because I
Yeah.
became a better Marine. You know, when Nicholson says in A Few Good Men, you can't handle the truth. That's what I had to do. I had to tell the truth. And it's the best thing that ever happened to me. I don't hide it, you know, because with my profile right now, people track me down, and I wasn't covering up the fact that I was court-martialed. It wouldn't look good.
Yeah.
I take the worst thing I've ever done, and I do that again too. I mean, can you imagine taking one of these little babies here,
Uh,
loading it up with cute little girls in bikinis, cases of beer, flying to a deserted island in Hawaii, sucking down the beer, running around naked? That's worth going to jail for.
I would say so.
Don't do it.
Mm,
Don't do it. But I said it's worth it, you know.
yeah.
And I was willing. I said, I'll go to jail for that. It's
So
worth it.
you're already a legend in the business world. You have just unlocked like general legendary status with that story right there. That's incredible.
and the best thing about it, you know, Marshall, is this October we opened the Rich Dad House with Lieutenant General Bergman, one of my best friends on the carrier. It's a 46 driver, but that's Semper Fi. That is Semper Fi. That's all it is. It's priceless.
I love that. I'm going to look into that and support that and spread the word.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, of course. And I think that's it. I really appreciate you talking to me today, and I'm gonna send you something in the mail, so look out for it. Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate it, and keep supporting our troops and all you guys who serve. Thank you for your service. Not everybody serves. Thank you.
Thank you.